This is 30 for 30, hosted by Marvin Nash, aka iCoach, aka your favorite coach's favorite coach. I got my man Coach Zach Kelley back again to talk a little bit about number one, knowing both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Just recently wrote a new book uh, talking about the 4-2-5 defense. So we want to dive into that first. Coach Kelley, man, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Coach Nash, you're my dog. I always appreciate you having me on with whatever you got going for the coaching community, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate that. So, Coach, man, I know you as a guy who just recently I was in attendance at a clinic where you were talking about running back play and drills and the house call culture, and then all of a sudden I see, oh, we got a defensive book coming up. So, Coach, just tell us a little bit about how you know both sides of the ball and what inspired you to write this book.
Man, it comes from early on in my career, man. I started coaching football in Oregon. I passed up a couple of offers to go play some Division II ball in Minnesota and rest. So I passed those up because I want to start my coaching career. You didn't have to be a teacher and a coach to be a coach in Oregon. So I started at 18 and I did what I played. I was an O lineman. I played offensive line. And, I did that for 3 or 4 years. Then I got here and I just, kind of lucked into a position at Adamson with Josh Ragsdale when he was the head coach there. And we're talking and they don't quite know exactly where I'd be, but he said, look, you got O-line background. That's a great start. Excuse me. You got a great start with the offensive line. Do you want to coach tight ends or linebackers? And I was like, well, shoot, I've done O-line. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's go to linebackers. So eventually I ended up working my way up to the DC spot. And, in that defense, I ended up coaching D-line a year, linebackers a year, the safeties a year. The safeties in the corners, all that stuff kind of mixed up. And, I just ended up taking it up and, taking it all in, trying to, find a system that fit those kids at Adamson the best. And that's where the whole simplified 4-2-5 came from. I got a whole story about how that came about. But so then, I'm doing that. In fact, 1 year at Adamson, I believe it was my second to last year there, I was the defensive line coach, the linebackers coach, and the varsity offensive line coach at 5A. So I was doing a little bit of both just because of my background. So then I come to Cedar Hill as a freshman coach, defensive assistant. Some stuff happens, some circumstances, go on, and it just happens where I got the chance to interview for the running back spot. And I'm sitting there I still remember the day I was sitting there in my truck, and I'm like, dang, should I call Coach Lynn? Should I call Coach Lynn? I've never coached running back. Should I call Coach Lynn? Tell him I want to interview for this varsity spot? I was like, all right, I just got to do it, whatever. So I go and I interview, and, Coach Lynn gives me a shot. I make it. I get on. I get promoted. And it's just, it's like I just always, like, ball is ball. It's not necessarily, I don't like when coaches, always tend to specify one side or the other. Oh, there's one position or another. I feel like I'm a great running backs coach, but I feel like whatever you give me, I'm going to be a good coach because I'm going to do whatever I got to do the research. If you want me to learn secondary play, I'm going to learn secondary play. If you want me to learn this, that, whatever, that's just what I do. And that's how I feel like most coaches are, but they want to put themselves in a box. But like I said, that's just a little background on how I kind of jack of all trades, master of none, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, I'm with you, Coach. It's one of those things, like you said. If you know ball, you can coach ball. It doesn't matter what position it is. A lot of that is just fine tuning. That you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one side of the ball. I think it makes you marketable. I'm the same way, man. I've coached every offensive position you can think of, and nearly every defensive position. And it's one of those things that ball coaches do. That's what we do.
Man, I've coached everything besides quarterbacks and receivers. I don't know if I could coach receivers. I think I would lose my mind and pull my hair out, coaching the receivers just because of the diva nature of it. But quarterbacks, I definitely would love to. Maybe in the future when I'm a coordinator and I could take quarterbacks and because it's just as much as I do. You need to have that relationship between the OC and the quarterback. So that may be in the horizon, but for the meantime. I'm pretty happy here at Cedar Hill coaching these past guys.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not like you don't have a stable of guys that can just go back there. So you're in good hands, you know.
Yeah, we're pretty blessed here on the hill, man.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, man, I know we were, in this quarantine, we all tried to keep busy. Online clinics, Zoom clinics, webinars. I know as coaches, we just tried to absorb as much knowledge as we can. What made you decide to say, I'm going to put my defensive knowledge in a book and go ahead and put it out there for people to grow from?
Man, so you know me, like I'm really big on Twitter. I love Twitter. I've used Twitter for years as a tool to network and market yourself and all that stuff. So I actually tweeted out, I think it was mid-May. I was like, all right, my 3 professional goals, I'm going to put them out there. I listen to Eric Thomas all the time. Like I listen to anything that he puts out, and he was talking about how he put goals out and leave them. Just put them out there. Don't talk about them. Just put them out there. Be about it, whatever. So I ended up putting my 3 goals out there. I want to be a head football coach, athletic coordinator in Texas. I want to write a book, and I want to be a Division I football coach. That's my goal. I want to coach college football. So then I got a bunch of people that, they were like, well, what would your book be about? And I had just done a clinic with about 200 people on the 4-2-5 defense with a simplified run fit. And I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of feedback. So I was like, all right, I could, if I could, I felt like I could write a book on running back play, but I felt like everybody loves the 4-2-5 for the most part that coaches defense, but everything you always hear about is so complex. So I took my rules, I took my system, and basically tried to simplify it again how I ran it at W.H. Adamson. And I just put it in a book. I talked to Tony Johnson, who wrote Faith on the Field on his phone a couple times. And I just started writing, man. And the best thing he told me was get a Google Doc, just start writing. Don't worry about nothing. Don't worry about formatting. Don't even worry about the dang font size. Just start writing. So, I started writing, and like I said, my wife always tells me that I'm a pretty good writer. Maybe she's hyping me up or something. I don't know. But no, I just start writing. I stay up a couple nights a week, 3-4 hours and write a little bit. If we were doing nothing during the day in quarantine, I just start writing. And like I said, I got that book out in 3 weeks, really, from start to finish. It's only 100 pages, but knocked it out, man, and got it to the publishers, got it out, and it was kind of a whirlwind. And, I've had a bunch of great reception and great feedback from it. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty excited about what we put out there.
No doubt. I've heard nothing but great things. I can't wait to crack my copy open and dive into it. A lot of my friends and guys I've networked with over Twitter have put out books recently, and man, my stack is about 5 or 6 high right now. I need to catch up on, man. So I can't wait to crack yours open and dive in, man. I know it's going to be some excellent material, and for an offensive guy like myself, I like to go ahead and call myself that. It lets me know what you guys are thinking too on the defensive side. So
man, yeah, it was fun, and like I said, I was thinking about as I was writing, I'm like, well, dang, what would I do to this? What would I run against my defense? Man, I just got wild in there, man. I just have fun and fun writing it.
No doubt. And man, I do want to say also congratulations, man. A new baby girl, is that correct?
Thank you. Yeah, man. She's 7 weeks old, raising hell, man. She's she's running the house right now. Her and Mama. So
yes, sir. Yes,
sir. See Mama, she'll be walking around. You'll see Mama walking around back and forth. We're installing an IKEA kitchen right now, cabinets right now. So I just put those up before, and so yeah, we stay busy over at the Kelley house. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes. Hey, that's one thing I know from you, Zach, is that you're gonna stay busy. That you're gonna keep yourself going with the project, and you always come through, and it's always stellar when you're done with it, man. So
I appreciate that, Coach.
Yes, sir. Now, man, just I know we kind of been chatting a little bit, but there's like a dark cloud that's kind of hanging over our nation right now, man. And it's affected me deeply, and I know with a lot of coaches, man, we coach kids and we coach all kids, but we also coach Black kids. and they live kind of a different existence, man. And, you know, me growing up
Yep.
as an African American male and then raising a couple of them myself here, my 14-year-old and my 9-year-old, man, it's been some tough conversations being had. With you as a coach, what's your role with some of those young men that you coach?
You know, for me specifically, you know, as a white coach, you know, I mean, I haven't had those experiences. So my big job, and I coach, you know, everybody in my position. They're young black men. So my job is to first, again, I'm gonna let them know that I love them and that I'm not blind to what's going on. You know, I'm not blind to what's in the world, and I'm gonna actively always support them and fight for them. You know, till everything's fixed. You know, I'm not gonna sit quietly, and they're gonna see. You know, whether it's on Twitter or I even told them, you know, kind of what I posted on there a while ago. Most of my good portion of my book proceeds are going to go to Black Lives Matter and the One Person Project. So they just know that, you know, Coach Kelley is always going to support them, no matter how crazy that this world is getting. And again, like I said, you know, as much as the black community can do, it's important for those white coaches, you know, and white members of society to realize that, you know, we gotta have our voice for the change too. You know, to not let it fall on deaf ears. So just shut up and listen, and then you know, do what we can to help out the cause, man. You know, everybody got mad when Colin Kaepernick started taking knees, and you know, I had a bunch of conversation with friends, and they're like, I just don't get it. I said, but who are you to judge? So, like I said, my kids are always gonna know that, you know, Coach Kelley empathizes with them, and it sucks. It's a terrible situation, but you know, it's always gonna be in the back of my mind because, you know, I worry about just as easily as, you know, as quick as George Floyd went up, Eric Gardner, you know, those could easily be one of my running backs. You know, and they know that I take that very seriously, and that again, like when George Floyd first, you know, when the recording first came out, the first thing I did was text my guys that I love them, and that it sucks, and that it's hard, but you know, just keep your head up, keep praying about it, and you know, just know that I got your back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know it is hard. It's hard to have those conversations, man, and we need more coaches like you that aren't afraid to speak out against it. It's one of those things where in the past, silence was okay. You know, weren't like openly racist, and you could be silent about it. But now it's time out for silence. You know, we need coaches that are speaking up, and I just appreciate that you're doing that. It's more important than you know. Hey, I know you know it's important, but it's even more important than that. So that's huge for me, man.
I appreciate you, Coach, and you know, like you said, the whole silence thing and like the One Person Project. I've been watching all these documentaries on stuff going on in the world. You know, the Netflix has their Black Lives Matter collection, and I just watched this one video on this the One Person's Project. His job, what he does is he goes around exposing those who are, you know, attending hate events. So he's putting them out there. So again, you can't hate and be silent and be anonymous. So like that's part of where my book proceeds are going to go to. Wow. One Person Project or One People Project. I can't remember. I just watched it last night, but it made me just. It was pretty eye opening, like I said. But
Absolutely. Well, man, I know we're fighting all these different obstacles to get to a season. You know, get to where it all makes sense again, where we're on the field playing football, and you know, things are back to where they need to be. In Texas, you know, we started a couple of weeks ago with our workouts. So how are we approaching? Like, I know what I'm doing as a coach, but also what are you doing as a coach to keep our kids safe when you know, we get skills and everything going? I know everything looks different now.
Yeah, you know, like I said, man, just following the UIL guidelines. You know, they put the guidelines. They're all in line with the CDC, doing everything that we can, just following those to a T. And again, the big thing is we got to just, like, we always are staying on our kids about separating. They know what's going on in the world, but they're kids. I mean, they have a tendency to start gravitating towards each other. We're going to say, hey, I don't know how many times I'll say 6 feet apart or social distance. I've never said those words in my life before, but, that's the world we're living in. So, like I said, just trying to do that. Every drill I come up with, I set my cones and I'm setting them back there because we're doing, like, when we do our skills portion, I got like 10 running backs. Only one's going at a time, two's going at a time max. So I'm setting cones up so those that are in line know exactly where to stand.
Yes.
So that way we don't have the issue of the bunching, because it's just a weird time, man. I don't know. Everybody's terming it the new normal. I don't know if it's the new normal, but it's just making stuff look a lot different. And difference not bad, I guess, but just trying to keep them safe. And like I said, I feel confident that we're gonna have a football season. I honestly do. I feel like we're gonna get in. It's not gonna look normal. Like, you're not gonna have 150 people on the sideline bunched up. You're gonna have people 6 feet apart. Probably gonna have limited team size, I even think, because you're gonna have to limit the number of people that you could have on a sideline. Ohio just came out with their what it's gonna look like when they get back. Limited capacity. Everybody's wearing masks. It's gonna be weird, but as long as we get to play football and those senior football players don't miss that opportunity. That's always my big thing. I got 5 senior running backs, so I just don't want them to miss out on it.
I'm with you, man. It's it's hard because you got guys, and a lot of them are banking their future on the senior season too, as far as being able to go to college for free. And you just want to make sure you're doing your due diligence to give them that opportunity. So again, I appreciate what you're doing, Coach. I mean, for me, it's the weirdest thing in the world is running back drills with no ball and no handing anything to a running back. So footwork drills and everything else. We're trying to figure it out, but together we can get it done. It'll be fine.
I feel like now school is going to be a whole different thing. I got my own ideas how school is going to have to look, but I'm not making any decisions. So that's going to be the other aspect that's kind of weird. So
yes,
we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, this is the next big question I have for you, and this is more geared toward your future goals. Now, you've mentioned writing the book. You mentioned being Texas high school head football coach. And you mentioned going on to coaching college football. Tell me this: what are some things that because when it was time to write the book, you just buckled down and went and got it. What are some things that you're working towards to achieve those other 2 goals?
Man, first off, it's always networking. A lot of times in this business, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I'm always doing good, and I don't make connections to for the future, but I'm always trying to make connections and learn from people. And I know that eventually that will probably, at one point in my career down the road, help me. How I got in at Cedar Hill was I met Coach Lynn at an FCA banquet that I was invited to 2 hours before it happened.
Wow.
We ended up sitting down at the same table as Coach Lynn and his son, and Tom Osborne was speaking. And we talked a little bit and, shared a meal. And then that's how I met Coach Lynn and locked in his number. And when he had an opening, and I eventually got over here, it was, like I said, it's just stuff like that, just always networking, always, I'm never going to be the coach that's about ego. It's never about ego for me. I'm never going to try and put people off and, think that I'm too good for anybody else just because of where I'm at or what I'm doing. And then the other thing is just studying. I'm always studying, whether it's, it's always easy to study X's and O's as a position coach, working on the offensive side of the ball, but it's a whole different thing to study how programs work. I'm always studying how coaches do. I love going on Twitter and finding stuff, man, finding stuff what Urban Meyer's putting out for, what he did. Just even trying to study not the X's and O's schemes. I love all the empty stuff that they ran at LSU last year. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll study that, but to a point I want to study how Ed Orgeron carried that team, that just that success that he had all year, and did they ever play a bad game? Like that stuff always sticks with me. It helps when you got Joe Burrow, but come on now. Give Ed Orgeron some credit. He's been a great coach ever since forever. Like, I still remember him when he was the interim coach at USC, and he ended up, he should have got hired on there, but they didn't. And it's just stuff like that. I'm just always studying how elite programs work, and always networking, with people, and just, again, creating those relationships.
Fantastic, Coach. Fantastic. I know for me myself, like that, I got to Twitter late, but once I got on, I realized I was meeting these people, and then when we go to like AFCA or go to Texas High School Coaches Association conventions, you start meeting these people in real life, and then that's how you get that real life connection with them. And something else you just said there, you don't connect with people to make future moves. You connect to have a genuine relationship. And that goes a long way in this business, man. There's so many people who connect to just move around, and there's others who connect to move forward in a relationship, man. So I can appreciate that about you, Coach.
I've definitely met a couple of those that are all, you could, and that's the thing, you could always tell. You could always tell when people are genuine, and they stick out like a sore thumb. So I think that's something that especially young coaches around, they always got to keep their eye out for that, because you never know. I mean, this business is full of great men, but just like every other profession, man, there's people that aren't looking out for you and your best interest and being selfless. So I mean, it is what it is. But just as long as coaches like yourself are just always working on for relationships and not for self gain, I mean, I think we're gonna be okay, and we just keep getting kids better.
I agree 100%. Well, Coach, this is the last question for you. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this, a 30 for 30 series. One thing that's hard for me though is coming up with the huge tagline. I've heard of the U, I've heard of broke. There's a whole bunch of different titles for your 30 for 30. So, what would you name the Zach Kelley 30 for 30?
Man, you couldn't have sent me this in a text, like have it ready or something, so I look smart, Coach Nash. Dang,
on the spot, Coach. Put you on the spot,
man. Man, I need a Google Doc to start typing in some ideas or something. If I was to have a 30 for 30 on Coach Zach Kelley, it would be either purposeful coaching or coaching with a purpose. That would probably be mine, because again, I got goals, and I'm always working for my goals. I'm never going to lose sight of what I want to do in this business as a 28-year-old coach. But again, my true purpose behind this is to help young men and women grow up and be great members of community. I don't want to take time away from my kids and my family. So everything I do, I try and involve my family and stuff. And, everything I do, there's always a purpose to it. So I just feel like that's what God put on my heart to do, and try and lead in Jesus' way. So that's probably what my 30 for 30 would be. It probably won't get any views. I may get 2 views. It would be me and probably my mom. I don't think my wife would watch it. She hears enough of me. But that's probably what it would be.
And that's exactly why I asked you off the top of the head, because I think that's perfect. The purposeful coach, man. That's exactly what you are, Coach. Well, I appreciate everything. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, man, because you always had so much insight, and you drop a gem here and there, and you don't even realize it. And then I re-listen. I'm like, man, there's some good stuff being said here. So, Coach Kelley, thank you.
I appreciate you, Coach Nash. Like I said, you do awesome things for the coaching community, man. I can't thank you enough for you taking the time. I'm sure your wife absolutely loves your 30 for 30s that you take, how many hours filming and producing, and the iCoach podcast, man, just, I appreciate you, man. It's phenomenal stuff that you're doing for the community, man.
I sure appreciate you, Coach, man. And I look forward to, once we have a successful, fingers crossed, successful football season, I look forward to catching back up with you, man, see what's next on the agenda.
Likewise with you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.